We all remember Joey's jokes, Chandler's sarcasm, and the laughter inside Monica's apartment on Friends. But behind the cameras, several actors connected to the show were battling addiction, failed marriages, near-death experiences, and heartbreaking final years. These are the heartbreaking stories behind Friends that fans were never supposed to see. James Michael Tyler as Gunther. The quiet coffee shop manager with the bleach blonde hair and painfully obvious crush on Rachel became one of the most unforgettable parts of Friends. James Michael Tyler was 32 years old when he first appeared in 1994 as Gunther. His awkward stares, cold reactions, and silent heartbreak slowly made him a fan favorite across the world. Fans eventually began calling him the Seventh Friend. However, his personal life carried its own sadness. His marriage to Barbara Chadsey slowly fell apart after years together, ending in divorce in 2014. But the real tragedy came much later, when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2018. He kept the illness secret for years, while the disease silently spread through his body, eventually reaching his spine and leaving him unable to walk without a wheelchair. The most heartbreaking part came in 2021, shortly after Friends. The reunion aired. Fans were excited to see the cast together again, but Tyler appeared only briefly through video call because his condition had become so severe. Around that same time, he publicly revealed that the cancer had already reached stage 4 and partially paralyzed him. Even during his final interviews, he stayed calm and encouraging, asking men to get tested early before it was too late. His second wife, Jennifer Carno, remained beside him throughout those painful final months. James Michael Tyler passed away on October 24, 2021, at the age of 59 at his home in Los Angeles due to complications from prostate cancer. Beyond Friends, he also appeared in Scrubs and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. By 2026, fans still remember him as the man who transformed a nearly invisible sitcom extra into one of television's most beloved recurring characters. Matthew Perry as Chandler Bing. The sarcastic office worker hiding pain behind endless jokes became one of the most beloved characters in sitcom history. Matthew Perry was only 25 years old when he first appeared as Chandler Bing in Friends in 1994. His nervous humor, awkward timing, and emotional vulnerability made Chandler feel painfully real to an entire generation. Behind the fame was a man battling deep emotional scars. Perry's parents divorced before he could even remember them together, and that instability followed him for most of his life. After a jet ski accident in 1997, he became addicted to Vicodin, alcohol, and several other substances. The addiction slowly took control of everything. Perry later admitted he spent nearly $9 million trying to get sober, went through repeated rehab stays, and lost memory of entire years while filming Friends. His relationships suffered heavily as well. He once admitted he ended his relationship with Julia Roberts because he felt she would eventually realize he was not enough. The darkest chapter arrived during his final years. In 2018, Perry nearly died after his colon burst due to opioid abuse, leaving him in a coma with only a 2% chance of survival. After recovering, he tried to rebuild his life through addiction advocacy and his memoir, where he openly described the terrifying reality of dependency. Then, in October 2023, the world was shocked when Perry was found dead in the jacuzzi of his Pacific Palisades home. The tragedy became even darker after investigations uncovered a ketamine supply network involving doctors, dealers, and people close to him. Court evidence later revealed cruel messages from individuals secretly profiting from his addiction while pretending to help him. Matthew Perry passed away on October 28, 2023, at the age of 54. The official cause of death included acute ketamine effects, drowning, and coronary artery disease. By 2026, several people connected to the case had already pleaded guilty or received prison sentences. Perry received Emmy nominations for Friends and remained widely known for films like The Whole Nine Yards and 17 Again. His story became one of Hollywood's clearest examples of how fame and suffering can exist side by side for decades. Max Wright, as Terry, always looked exhausted trying to keep Central Perk under control, while the six friends turned the cafe into their second home. Max Wright joined the sitcom in 1994 at 51 years old as the original manager of Central Perk. His irritated expressions and dry delivery perfectly captured the feeling of a man slowly losing patience with the endless chaos happening around him every single day. You know, Wright had already become famous as Willie Tanner in ALF, but fame brought heavy baggage into his personal life. His career slowly became overshadowed by legal trouble and painful public scandals. In 2000 and again in 2003, he was arrested for drunk driving incidents that damaged his reputation even further. Then came one of the darkest moments of his life, when tabloid newspapers published disturbing stories and images connected to alleged drug use in 2001. The scandal deeply humiliated him and pushed him even further away from Hollywood. At the same time, he was quietly battling lymphoma, a disease first diagnosed in 1995. His final years became increasingly painful. Wright largely disappeared from the spotlight while continuing treatment for cancer behind closed doors. Then another heartbreaking loss arrived in 2017 when his wife Linda Yibarando, whom he had been married to since 1965, died from breast cancer. After more than 50 years together, her death reportedly devastated him emotionally. His own health continued declining afterward as the lymphoma returned after years in remission. Max Wright passed away on June 26, 2019, at the age of 75 at the Lillian Booth Actors Home in New Jersey due to lymphoma. Beyond Friends, he remained widely recognized for ALF, The Stand, and his Tony-nominated stage career including Ivanov. By 2026, many viewers still remember him as the frustrated cafe manager standing behind the counter before Gunther fully took over Central Perk. Mike Haggerty as Mr. Trigger. Mr. Trigger always looked like he was 1 second away from yelling at someone in the apartment hallway, yet somehow he made every scene funnier the moment he appeared. Back in 1994, Mike Haggerty joined Friends at 40 years old as the rough, no-nonsense building superintendent constantly cleaning up after the gang's chaos. The thick mustache, irritated expressions, and blue-collar energy made him feel less like an actor and more like a real neighbor living inside the building. Away from television, Haggerty never chased the spotlight the way many sitcom actors did. Hollywood repeatedly cast him as working-class characters because of his rugged appearance and heavy Chicago attitude, but he quietly built a long-lasting career out of those roles. His marriage to Mary Catherine stayed stable and deeply private for decades, something increasingly rare in the entertainment industry. Near the end of his life, Haggerty suddenly found himself back in the spotlight again, thanks to Somebody Somewhere. The series introduced him to younger audiences and reminded older viewers how naturally funny and human he could be on screen. In 2022, he was preparing to return to Illinois to begin filming the second season when everything changed unexpectedly. A severe reaction to antibiotics prescribed for a leg infection triggered a seizure, eventually leaving him in a coma. The suddenness of it shocked many people because he had still been actively working only days earlier. Mike Haggerty passed away on May 5, 2022, at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles at the age of 67. Besides Friends, he remained widely recognized for Wayne's World and Somebody Somewhere. By 2026, Mr. Trigger is still remembered as one of those rare sitcom side characters who could steal an entire scene with nothing more than a dirty look and a frustrated sigh. Ron Leibman as Dr. Leonard Green. Every time Dr. Leonard Green stormed into a room screaming at Ross, it felt like absolute disaster was about to happen. Ron Liebman stepped into Friends at 58 years old as Rachel Greene's intimidating father, bringing explosive energy and constant tension into the sitcom in 1996. His loud outbursts, sharp delivery, and impossible standards turned Rachel's father into one of the funniest recurring parents on the show. But outside the sitcom world, Liebman carried the reputation of a serious Broadway powerhouse. He pushed himself through demanding stage performances and intense dramatic roles while trying to maintain the artistic reputation he had built in New York theater. His first marriage to actress Linda Lavin ended in divorce in 1981, but 2 years later he married actress Jessica Walter. Their relationship became deeply tied to the New York acting world, with both appearing together in plays, television projects, and eventually the animated series Archer later in life. In his later years, Liebman slowly moved away from major Hollywood productions and focused more on teaching acting in New York City. Then came an unexpected late-career return when he voiced Ron Cadillac in Archer, alongside Jessica Walter's iconic character, Mallory Archer. At the same time, his health had quietly started declining. In late 2019, complications from pneumonia rapidly worsened, leading to his death only months before the COVID pandemic would make respiratory illness a worldwide fear. Ron Liebman passed away on December 6, 2019, in Manhattan at the age of 82 due to complications from pneumonia. His career stretched far beyond Friends, including an Emmy-winning performance in Caz and a Tony Award for Angels in America. By 2026, he is still remembered as one of the strongest dramatic actors ever to appear in the Friends universe. Terry Garr as Phoebe Abbott. Phoebe Abbott walked back into Phoebe Buffay's life with nervous smiles, awkward honesty, and the feeling of a mother desperately hoping for a second chance. Terry Garr joined the sitcom in 1997 at 53 years old as Phoebe's biological mother. Her scattered energy, emotional warmth, and slightly chaotic charm made the character feel both comforting and deeply fragile at the same time. Long before Friends, Garr had already become one of Hollywood's most recognizable comedic actresses. She danced in Elvis Presley films as a teenager, starred in classics like Young Frankenstein and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and earned an Oscar nomination for Tootsie. But behind the humor was a woman living with physical pain for decades. Garr first began noticing symptoms of multiple sclerosis during the filming of Tootsie in the early 1980s, years before publicly revealing the diagnosis in 2002. The disease slowly affected her balance, movement, and energy while she continued acting through the pain. Her later years became a long fight against declining health. In 2006, Garr suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm that left her in a coma for a week. Doctors were unsure whether she would fully recover, but after intense therapy, she regained her speech and motor skills and continued appearing in public to support MS awareness. Eventually, the illness forced her to retire from acting in 2011. Despite everything, Garr stayed surprisingly open, funny, and optimistic in interviews, while becoming a public advocate for people living with multiple sclerosis. Terry Garr passed away on October 29, 2024, at her home in Los Angeles at the age of 79 due to complications from multiple sclerosis. Her career included an Oscar-nominated performance in Tootsie, along with unforgettable roles in Young Frankenstein, Mr. Mom, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Many fans still remember her as one of Hollywood's most naturally funny actresses, capable of making nervous chaos feel strangely lovable on screen. Ron Glass as Russell. You remember Russell's voice and sharp attitude instantly made Ross's disastrous divorce situation even more uncomfortable. Ron Glass joined the sitcom in 1999 at 50 years old as Ross Geller's divorce lawyer. Even in a small role, his smooth delivery and quiet confidence stood out immediately. Glass built his career during a period when black actors in Hollywood faced far fewer opportunities and far harsher limitations. Breaking through took years of persistence. His role as Detective Ron Harris in Barney Miller finally made him a recognizable face across America, later followed by another beloved performance as Shepard Book in Firefly. Unlike many actors in Hollywood, Glass lived an unusually private and spiritual life. He never married and eventually became deeply devoted to Buddhism after being raised Catholic. During his later years, Glass continued appearing in television and voice acting projects while remaining closely connected to the fan communities surrounding Firefly. But behind the scenes, his health had quietly become more fragile. In 2016, the entertainment world was shocked when news suddenly broke that he had died from respiratory failure. The announcement hit especially hard because many fans still associated him with the calm wisdom and emotional warmth he brought to nearly every role he played. Ron Glass passed away on November 25, 2016, at the age of 71 due to respiratory failure. Beyond Friends, he remained best known for Barney Miller, which earned him an Emmy nomination, and Firefly alongside its sequel film, Serenity. By 2026, he is still remembered as one of television's most comforting and quietly charismatic character actors. Mary Pat Gleason as Nurse Sizemore looked like the kind of exhausted hospital worker before Ross and Rachel made her day even worse. Mary Pat Gleason was 44 years old, bringing sharp comedic timing and nervous energy to the role in Friends in 1994. Even in a short appearance, she had the kind of face sitcom fans instantly recognized. Beyond acting, Gleason was also an Emmy-winning writer for the soap opera Guiding Light. But behind the humor, she privately struggled with bipolar disorder for years. Instead of hiding it forever, she eventually turned that pain into something public and deeply personal through her one-woman play Stopping Traffic, where she openly talked about mental illness and emotional breakdowns. Her later years became dominated by a long and exhausting battle with uterine cancer. Even while her health declined, Gleason continued acting and voice work whenever she could. One of her final projects included voicing Professor Foxtrot in the animated series WTF 101. As the illness worsened, many fans were shocked by how quietly she endured it compared to other Hollywood figures constantly surrounded by publicity and headlines. Mary Pat Gleason passed away on June 2, 2020, at the age of 70 after a long battle with uterine cancer. Outside of Friends, she remained widely known for Mom, A Cinderella Story, and dozens of television appearances stretching across nearly 4 decades. By 2026, she is still remembered as one of those familiar character actresses audiences instantly recognized, even if they never knew her name. Jennifer Aniston as Rachel Green. Rachel Green running into Central Perk in a wedding dress became one of the most iconic entrances in television history. Jennifer Aniston was 25 years old when Friends premiered in 1994, and her portrayal of the spoiled but lovable Rachel quickly turned her into a global superstar. The haircut, the fashion, the emotional storylines, and her chemistry with Ross helped define an entire generation of sitcom television. But behind the glamorous image, Aniston carried years of insecurity and emotional pressure. Her relationship with her mother, actress Nancy Dow, remained deeply strained for years, partly because of constant criticism about Jennifer's appearance while growing up. She later admitted she struggled with self-esteem and undiagnosed dyslexia during her younger years. Her personal life became relentless tabloid material, especially after her highly publicized divorce from Brad Pitt in 2005 and later separation from Justin Theroux. For years, the media obsessively questioned why she did not have children, turning her private pain into public entertainment. In recent years, Aniston finally began speaking more openly about the emotional toll behind that image. In 2022, she revealed that she had secretly gone through years of unsuccessful IVF treatments, while the world constantly speculated about her body, relationships, and pregnancy rumors. The confession shocked many fans because she had hidden that struggle for decades while smiling through interviews and red carpets. Around the same time, her dramatic role in the morning show reminded audiences how much range she had beyond comedy, earning major award nominations again. In 2025, news also emerged about her relationship with wellness coach Jim Curtis, marking another quieter chapter in her personal life after years of public heartbreak. As of 2026, Jennifer Aniston is 57 years old and remains active in Hollywood. She continues starring in and producing The Morning Show, while also focusing on her production company, Echo Films and Wellness Projects. Her career includes an Emmy Award, a Golden Globe, and major hits like Marley and Me, Horrible Bosses, and Murder Mystery. Courtney Cox as Monica Geller. Monica Geller. Cleaning the apartment obsessively while trying to keep everyone's lives under control became one of the defining energies of Friends. Courtney Cox joined the sitcom in 1994 at 30 years old, playing the fiercely competitive chef whose need for perfection hid years of insecurity underneath. Monica's nervous intensity, emotional outbursts, and loyalty made her feel real in a way many sitcom characters never do. Away from the cameras, Cox faced her own struggles with pressure, aging, and heartbreak. Before finally becoming a mother, she suffered multiple miscarriages that left her emotionally devastated for years. After giving birth to her daughter Coco in 2004, she also battled postpartum depression while trying to balance fame, marriage, and work. Her relationship with actor David Arquette slowly fell apart after years together, ending in divorce in 2013, despite the couple remaining close afterward. Then came another painful struggle tied directly to Hollywood's obsession with youth. Cox later admitted she became trapped in cosmetic procedures and fillers while trying to keep herself looking young, only realizing later that she no longer recognized herself in the mirror. Her later years became more reflective and surprisingly honest. In multiple interviews, Cox openly discussed dissolving her fillers and learning to accept aging naturally after years of pressure from the industry. At the same time, she successfully returned to horror films through the modern Scream sequels and launched her home care brand, Home Court, in 2021. Fans were also surprised when she admitted she barely remembered many Friends storylines and had started rewatching the series herself decades later, almost like revisiting a forgotten chapter of her own life. As of 2026, Courtney Cox is 62 years old and continues acting and producing while living primarily in California and London with longtime partner Johnny McDade. She remains strongly associated with both Friends and the Scream franchise, especially her role as Gale Weathers. In recent years, she also received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, cementing her status as one of the most recognizable television actresses of her generation. Lisa Kudrow as Phoebe Buffay. Phoebe Buffay singing Smelly Cat with that strange little smile made every awkward moment in Friends feel warmer and weirder at the same time. Lisa Kudrow entered the series in 1994 at 31 years old, playing the free-spirited masseuse with a painful past, a surreal sense of humor, and a heart much softer than her bizarre stories suggested. Phoebe could be ridiculous in 1 second and unexpectedly heartbreaking in the next, which made her one of the most unique characters in the group. But behind Phoebe's confidence, Kudrow was privately struggling with her own insecurity. During Friends, she later admitted she developed body image issues while standing beside Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox. She felt bigger next to them, and sometimes restricted her eating to look thinner on screen. It was a painful contrast. The woman playing the most carefree friend was quietly fighting the feeling that she was never good enough in her own body. Her personal life, however, remained unusually stable for Hollywood. In 1995, she married French advertising executive Michel Stern, and their long marriage became one of the rare, quiet success stories connected to the Friends cast. In recent years, Kudrow has stayed busy without trying to chase the old sitcom spotlight. She continued producing and acting, with projects like The Comeback, Web Therapy, and Who Do You Think You Are?, where she discovered a painful family connection to the Holocaust. More recently, she returned in Apple TV Plus's Time Bandits and Netflix's dark comedy No Good Deed, where critics again noticed her ability to mix anxiety, humor, and sadness in the same scene. Unlike many stars trapped by one famous role, Kudrow slowly built a second career around sharper, stranger, more self-aware comedy. As of 2026, Lisa Kudrow is 63 years old and continues working as an actress, producer, and writer. She lives a private family life with Michelle Stern and their son Julian, while still appearing in television projects when the role feels right. Her career includes an Emmy Award for Friends, along with acclaimed work in The Comeback, Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion, and No Good Deed. Phoebe Buffay remains her most beloved role, but Kudrow's real legacy is deeper than one song about a smelly cat. Matt LeBlanc as Joey Tribbiani. Joey Tribbiani walking into the room with "How you doin'" could turn even the simplest scene into a classic Friends memory. Matt LeBlanc joined the sitcom in 1994 at 27 years old, playing the lovable, struggling actor with a big appetite, a big heart, and almost no ability to hide what he was thinking. Joey was silly, loyal, and charmingly clueless, making him one of the easiest characters for audiences to love. After Friends, LeBlanc's life took a much heavier turn than many fans realized. The spin-off Joey failed to recreate the magic of the original series, and his career suddenly lost momentum after years of global fame. At home, the situation was even more painful. His daughter Marina began suffering seizures as an infant due to a neurological condition believed to be cortical dysplasia. Around the same period, his marriage to Melissa McKnight ended in divorce in 2006. LeBlanc later stepped back from Hollywood for years, focusing on his daughter and admitting that he had reached a point of deep exhaustion after non-stop work and personal stress. His return was slower, quieter, and surprisingly successful. Instead of pretending to be the same young sitcom star, LeBlanc played a fictionalized version of himself in episodes, a role that won him a Golden Globe and brought him several Emmy nominations. He later hosted Top Gear and starred in Man with a Plan, proving he could still carry television without simply repeating Joey. In recent years, fans also revisited the Forgotten Joey spin-off after previously unaired episodes finally became available online, turning one of his old disappointments into a strange new chapter of nostalgia. As of 2026, Matt LeBlanc is 59 years old and still primarily lives in Pacific Palisades, Los Angeles. He has kept a lower profile in recent years, but reports in 2026 connected him to a possible CBS detective drama called Flint, marking a potential return to series television. His career includes 3 Emmy nominations for Friends, a Golden Globe win for episodes, and major later work in Top Gear and Man with a Plan. Joey Tribbiani remains the role that made him immortal, but LeBlanc's real story is also about stepping away when family mattered more than fame. So that's the heartbreaking story of the beloved Friends actors we've sadly lost over the years. Behind the laughter, many of them carried struggles, illnesses, and painful battles that fans never fully saw. Which cast member or guest star do you miss the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from the stars you grew up watching.